What did you do to Stony Blair that makes you guilty of premeditated murder?
She raped my son. I intentionally killed her.
Steven, you know we had to beg you. Me, Steven, all of us used to cry for you, nigga. Well, now. But you ain't got nothing to say to me for what I did for my child. Period.
In today's video, we'll be addressing a deeply distressing and sensitive topic surrounding the case of Michelle Blair from Detroit. The content we're about to discuss involves graphic details of harm and may be unsettling for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Now, let's head into the tragic events surrounding Michelle Blair's case. A woman of 4 from Detroit, Michigan, named Michelle Blair, killed 2 of her kids and kept them in the freezer for a long time. When the 35-year-old was forced out of her flat in 2015 due to non-payment of rent, the police learned about the crime. To learn more about what transpired and some background information about the mother who turned murderess, keep watching. Michelle Blair, 35, was living with her 4 children in 2015. Her flat was taken away from her. She was unable to maintain consistent work after being evicted and would constantly beg her family for money. However, once they advised her to find employment and return to school, the call ceased. It appears that she disregarded their advice, as she received an eviction notice on March 24, 2015, early in the morning. However, she was absent. At that point, a team from the 36th District Court entered the house and started taking the furnishings out. When they opened the deep freezer, they discovered something that nobody should ever have to see. Beneath the teenage girl, who was wrapped in a large plastic bag, they discovered the body of a younger kid. She was taken into custody. She reportedly cried out, "I'm sorry," to the cops as they hauled her away. Authorities transported the body to a mortuary in the interim so that an autopsy could be done. Stephen Berry and Stony Blair, her children, were recognized as the children. They had been in the freezer for at least 3 years, according to the medical examiner, who declared their deaths to be homicides. Blair claimed that one day in August 2012, she came home to find her son using dolls to simulate sexual activities. Blair then questioned him, saying, "Why are you doing that? Has this ever happened to you? Someone?" She rushed upstairs to confront him after he informed her that his brother, Stephen, had. Blair claimed that once he admitted, she started beating and kicking him and covered his head with a garbage bag until he lost consciousness. Blair claimed that his skin peeled off after she repeatedly doused his genitalias with boiling hot water. Later, she made Stephen drink Windex, and then she raised her son up and asked, "Do you like how this feels?" choked with a belt after putting a belt around his neck. Blair claimed that he passed out once again. Michelle Blair faced murder charges for the deaths of her children, is potentially looking at mandatory life imprisonment if convicted. Her attorney, Wyatt Harris, opted not to provide comments on Wednesday. She was held on a $1 million bond. Blair, which had been arraigned on 5 counts of first-degree child abuse. However, amended charges were anticipated following the Wayne County Medical Examiner's classification of Stony Ann Blair and Stephen Gage Berry's deaths as homicides, citing multiple blows and thermal injuries for Stephen. The gruesome discovery of the frozen bodies in a deep freezer at the Martin Luther King Apartments occurred during an eviction on March 24th, prompting investigators to rely on Blair's confession. According to her admission, Stephen passed away at the age of 9 in August 2012, and Stony at 13 in May the following year. In the next development, Blair's attorney has sought to waive her Miranda rights, potentially challenging the confession pending a psychiatric examination, while the court had already scheduled a competency exam. Blair's attorney was pushing for an additional one, attorney Wyatt Harris stated. Competency to waive Miranda rights, she made a statement, "We want her evaluated for that." Competency to stand trial and criminal responsibility. The judge reluctantly granted this request. Independent psychiatrist Dr. Gerald Schneider would conduct the second psychiatric exam, while the state was supposed to handle the other competency assessment. Harris conveyed Blair's deep affection for her children, emphasizing her desire to see them. However, uncertainties lingered regarding whether she comprehends the restrictions on such interactions. Blair, a mother of 2 surviving children, had her other children discussed during the arraignment. The defense requested video footage of these children being interviewed by a psychiatrist, a request that was approved. Blair must be able to explain to the judge exactly what occurred to her children in order to enter a plea. She provided startling and explicit details in court on Monday morning. She declared that she would kill Stoney again if necessary and that she definitely meant to kill her. She claims that because Stoney was abusing her youngest kid sexually, she punished him by doing this. Blair acknowledged that she had struck Stoney in the head, burned her with boiling water, and punched her repeatedly. Blair claims that she used a grocery bag to suffocate Stoney to death. "I have no regrets about what I did to Stoney, since she didn't feel bad about what she did to my son," Blair stated. She not only sexually assaulted him, but she also gang raped him with Stephen. She added that although she intended to stay and be with her youngest son, the one who is the purported victim of sexual assaults, she was going to give herself in right away. She claims that a year later, she learned that Stephen, her other son, had been raping the younger son. She claims that after that, she covered Stephen's head with a trash bag, belt choked him, punched and kicked him, and burned his genital area with boiling water. Additionally, according to her, she forced him to drink Windex after her youngest son said Stephen had forced him to drink the blue stuff from under the sink. At the time, the youngest boy was 6 years old. Blair acknowledged during her deposition that she did not plan to kill Stephen, but she did aim to do him significant pain. "If I had killed Stephen intentionally, I definitely would be proud to say I did, but I didn't," she stated. "I don't feel no emotion for the death of them demons." Sick. Regarding the claim that she had been starving Stephen, she disputes it. However, she claims that after finding out that he had been stealing food from the younger boy, she took away his meat. She thinks it could be the reason Stephen lost weight. Blair said that she had once phoned the police, asking what would happen to the other kids in the house and for advice for a friend in the event that a sibling was found to be sexually abusing another. She claims that because she thought Child Protective Services would take the younger boy and a third child out of the house, she didn't answer the phone any further. Blair entered a guilty plea, and the judge accepted it, stating that the reports from the medical examiner supported her evidence. Blair should expect to serve a life sentence without the possibility of release. On July 17th, there will be a formal sentencing. Blair claimed to have discovered her daughter Stoney was also raping her youngest son 9 months after killing Stephen. At that point, she started starving Stoney and severely abusing her till her death in May of 2013. She said that she was planning to turn herself into the police, but she made alternate plans after hearing from her youngest son that he didn't want her to go. Blair sealed Stoney's body in a plastic bag and placed it on top of Stephen in the deep freezer. Blair then carried on as usual, living in the house. For nearly 3 years, Stephen and Stoney were kept in the deep freezer without anyone searching for them. Their fathers were gone, and Blair had already pulled them out of school. She informed administrators that she would be instructing them from home. She always had an explanation when their neighbors inquired about the location of the kids. Michelle Blair is currently serving a life sentence in the Huron Valley Correctional Facility in Ypsilanti, Michigan, after entering a guilty plea to 2 charges of first-degree premeditated murder in June 2015. Details about Michelle Blair. Arrival of the crew. The dead were discovered inside the deep freezer when a 36th District Court team entered Blair's flat and started removing the furniture. The body of a boy beneath the frozen body of a teenage girl, wrapped in a plastic bag, was also inside the freezer, which was situated in the living room. Michelle Blair's reaction. Blair said she would kill her children again, and that she killed them because they were becoming demons in response to questions about the crime. The youngsters engaging in sexual molestation. The mother claimed that her younger son was being sexually molested by the 2 children she killed. According to accounts, Blair came home in August 2012 to discover her youngest son, Matthew, having sex with a doll. He told her that he was frequently sexually molested by his older brother, Stephen. When she questioned him about it, she approached her oldest son after becoming enraged by this, smothering intimate areas with hot water. Stephen admitted that he had attempted to molest Matthew when Blair questioned him about it. She began to kick and punch him out of rage before strangling him to death. To make agony even worse, she also splashed hot water over Stephen's private parts, beating and starving Stoney to death. Michelle Blair learned that her daughter Stoney was abusing Matthew 9 months after Stephen had passed away. In May 2013, she killed her via starvation and beating. Blair stated that although she intended to turn herself in, she just put the bodies in the freezer because Matthew could not bear to live without his mother. Blair's charges. In June 2015, Blair was found guilty of first-degree murder and given a life sentence. She is currently incarcerated in Pittsfield Township, Michigan's Huron Valley Correctional Facility, serving her sentence. No remorse or comments. Blair declared in court that she would do it again if necessary. She has to go, no matter what anybody thinks. He does indeed have closure. As I say, I understand exactly how we felt about the offense she had committed, she remarked. I understood what he was going through because it's exactly how I used to feel. A documentary regarding the occurrence. Blair's experience was told in an episode of Investigation Discovery's true crime series, Evil Lives Here, called I Made It Out Alive. On January 29, 2023, it was shown. The neighbor's opinion. Blair was regarded by her neighbors as a quiet, collected person with a good heart. By March 2017, reports state that Michelle Blair had committed about 28 infractions. She was charged with beating and spitting on inmates, punching police officers, and hurling feces and urine at correctional officers in cans. Blair received a sentence of an additional 38 months to 5 years due to her behavior. What did we learn? The Michelle Blair case serves as a reminder of the profound failures within the child welfare system and the devastating consequences of unchecked abuse. This tragic story reveals the depths of a mother's descent into violence driven by a misguided sense of retribution. Blair's actions underscore the urgency of recognizing signs of abuse and the crucial need for intervention to protect vulnerable children. The narrative forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality that, at times, those responsible for safeguarding children may become perpetrators themselves. It emphasizes the importance of open dialogue, reporting mechanisms, and vigilance within communities to prevent such atrocities. Additionally, the case prompts reflection on the challenges faced by child protective services and the necessity for improvements in their responsiveness. As we deal with the unsettling details of this case, we must collectively advocate for systemic changes that prioritize the safety and well-being of children, ensuring that no child falls through the cracks of a system designed to protect them. Ultimately, the Michelle Blair case compels us to be more vigilant, compassionate, and proactive in our efforts to create a safer world for our most vulnerable members. As we conclude this exploration into the Michelle Blair case, it's important to approach such distressing stories with empathy and awareness. Our hearts go out to those affected by this tragedy, And we hope that by shedding light on these events, we can contribute to discussions surrounding child welfare and the importance of early intervention. If you found this video informative or thought-provoking, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing for more content that fosters understanding and raises awareness. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other.